All right, we're here with our buddy Eric Lundgren from Big Battery. It's been a while since we've been able to hang out and talk, so this is going to be fun to catch up. Eric, how you doing? What's going on?
I'm doing great. Zach, Jesse, thanks for having me. We are in the new factory. So I think the last time that we talked, I was in Los Angeles, and now we have the 309,000 square foot facility right here in Texas. So we're in the heart of the USA.
309,000 square feet. That's big.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I always wanted to have a factory that had a train that came into it. And so now I'm living the dream.
You have a train?
Yes, there's a train that comes into the facility, which is pretty cool. And it's on 60 acres of land. So more than enough land to build. Everything's bigger in Texas.
So wow, I guess the right name for the company.
Yeah.
Not Small Battery, that's a competitor. Big Battery.
So we've been talking with you for years. What's changed over like the 9 or 10 year span here? Like it used to be you talk to people about batteries and solar and you get a blank stare. Has that changed yet for you? Do you think that we've entered a new era?
Yeah, I mean, think about when we first started and we sent you the first ethos, and you know the question was, how hard are these to install? Nowadays it's all plug and play. It's getting to the point where it's red wire, and I love that. I love that it's easy and seamless, because the goal of this company was to make it affordable and attainable. And I don't want it to be where only experts are allowed to plug these things in, right? So that's the goal. I think we're getting there. I think that consumers are getting educated and understanding how easy it is to get newer lithium solutions instead of these antiquated lead acid solutions for a better user experience. Just a more efficient and just a better power solution.
I've seen a lot of YouTubers in the past few weeks who've been talking about, hey, you know, I've been able to replace my Honda generator with this. And then they'll show a big, 5 kilowatt hour battery. And I think that has almost been the easy introduction to people because it's consumer grade and it's kind of like, I don't need to know how to do anything to make this work.
All the plugs look normal to me. I plug this part into the wall and then, hey, there's the wall plug right on the big rectangle that I have. Oh, how fun.
And then I think they go, wait, but it doesn't make all that sound that the other one does. And I don't have to go get gas for it. And I think that for a lot of people is like the entry level, because they can plug solar panels into it. They can bring it to grandma's house. They can do all those things with it. And then they go, wait, can I go bigger?
Yeah, it gets addictive. The second that you actually make one lithium system, you start realizing how many other things use lithium.
All right, so Eric, I want to talk to you about resilience. One of the biggest pushbacks I get against EVs and solar and wind is they tell me, people who don't know anything, tell me that they've heard that we can't do all this stuff with solar and stuff because the grid can't take the number of EVs. They can't take solar because solar is only good for a certain number of hours. And I want you to tell me, is this true? I mean, I thought this creates resilience to have solar on my roof and batteries in my house.
It does.
Who's right?
It does. Well, it's grid stability, right? I mean, the goal here is if we just rely on power plants and then we need to transfer that power long distances, there's a lot of power loss and then there's inefficiencies. We just had a storm come through Texas, and sure enough, I lost power at my house. Now, I just bought this house here in Texas, but it was just so ironic when I run a battery company. So the next day I said, just like put 2 ethos on my house and I'll never lose power again. But it's also the creation of that power, right? I mean, the fact that now my power bills go down. I drive a Tesla, as do you two, I'm sure. So now I'm not paying for fuel. I'm not paying for electricity. And I get to live a life of abundance because I built a more efficient system where I have energy independence. And there's nothing more American than energy independence. It's true freedom.
Freedom power. There's freedom panels.
Freedom batteries, damn it. Absolutely.
That's what we should have called the company instead of Big Battery.
Everybody goes,
battery.
Well,
Everybody goes, but you make all size batteries. Why did you call it Big Battery? And the end goal is, to make batteries that are big enough to power cities, right? So we will be coming out with 5 megawatt hour battery packs and 768 kilowatt hour battery packs in high voltage. And that's going to be in 2026. We're working our way up there. I don't know if you remember when we started, but we had a little tiny 180 watt hour battery pack. And now we're doing these 100 kilowatt hour battery packs that are all, stackable like Legos and can power basically C&I. So think like apartment complexes or hotels. And then eventually you get to the point where you just stack those together in a larger container and you make it liquid cooled, and you have yourself a battery pack that can power the city of Denver. Not one, but many. There's a lot of those contracts that are coming up now where everybody's realizing that it's scalable, that it's efficient, and that it's the best solution that we have today. We want to live in a world where we're not just reliant on the formats of energy that we have. There's no one cure, right? There's no one solution, but batteries is in all of the solutions. When I open up a wind turbine, there's lithium batteries inside. When my buddies are making hydrogen cars and they're the fastest hydrogen cars and they're selling them, they're calling me asking for batteries. So we live in a world where every efficient system needs energy storage, and that energy storage today needs to be lithium. And it needs to be LFP specifically. There's a big difference between NMC and LFP, which I'm sure you guys are aware. NMC is not chemistry that we support here. We support batteries that we can make in America in 2025 and 2026. And so we want the commodities that come from America. Right? So LFP, lithium iron phosphate. Lithium, abundant in the United States. I mean, we're finding it everywhere. Iron, it's prevalent in the Earth's crust everywhere, iron ore. Phosphate, we dump it on crops. So this is a battery that can truly be made in America.
But wait a minute. I heard this is rare earth minerals. Like, that's all you hear when you hear the word battery, that goes along with it. But you're absolutely right. It's not, lithium is the 8th most abundant, element on the planet. It's not rare.
Yep. And to quote Elon Musk, lithium's kind of the salt on the salad. It's not a big component. It's 2% roughly of the battery. Today, you got 86% of the world's batteries coming from China, lithium batteries. But that's quickly shifting. After the IRA with the Democrats, where we tried to buy back manufacturing, and then Trump now putting up tariffs so that we can win manufacturing in the United States. All of that, it's a bipartisan issue. If you're a consumer, you want an efficient solution that's going to serve you best. I want to drive farther. I want to go faster. I want to be able to have the freedom to unplug. If you're, somebody who cares about sustainability, you're going to want to make sure that you have a green solution, something that is, going to make the world a more environmentally friendly place and sustainable, right? I mean, long term, these batteries that we design are designed to last for 16 years. So we have a 12-year full replacement warranty. They just don't require any maintenance, and they have 8,000 cycles. So do the math, divide that by 365. If you use the battery every single day, from 100% to zero, that's going to be a 21 and a half year life cycle on that battery for an 8,000 cycle battery. So
well, speaking of that, we have an articulated lift, and it has lead acid batteries that power it. And I didn't really think much about it for the first few years, but now 3 years later, I have to think about it because, hey, why isn't it working? Oh, the batteries are dead.
The battery indicator isn't going up when I leave it plugged in.
And, in my brain, I was like, lead acid batteries are cheap. We'll just go get those. When I priced it, it's like $1,000. I'm like, hang on, what? These are the dirt stupidest batteries. So then Jesse and I are like, well, wait a minute. We're into lithium batteries. Why don't we replace them? And we're like, yeah, we went to your site. We're like, oh, these drop right in. So I think, we did a little research. There's like 6 million of these things in the United States right now. I think there's a lot of people who don't know that when that day comes, which is coming soon for them, that they have to change those batteries out, they can put in better batteries.
Yeah, usually consumers are buying, a scissor lift, and then 2 years down the road, they become a customer of ours when they realize that, just like you, they don't want to replace with an antiquated old technology that they're going to have to replace again in 2 to 3 years, right? So they go with lithium, and we designed a Trojan, a battery that is the exact same form factor size as a T105. So it's a standard lead acid battery size so that you can take out your current battery, pop ours in, and plug it in. It's that simple. I'd love to send you guys some just to play with. We actually designed them for United Rentals, the largest rental fleet in the United States, because they had a problem with the service contracts. They were paying $120 million in service contracts over 10 years, $12 million a year just for somebody to drive out and fill up the batteries and check the batteries. And when you had one lead acid battery that was low, they replaced the whole string of these batteries. It was very costly. So for them, the ROI would be about 2 years. For you guys, it just makes sense. You'll be able to plug these things in, and I promise you, for a very, very long time, you're never going to need to do anything. There's zero maintenance.
And also, I think we want to add a little solar panel on there so we don't even have to think about charging it, you know? But wait a minute, Eric, I just thought lithium's light. And we need the weight, right? Because we're going to tip if we don't have the weight.
We designed a solution for that. So we have a counterweight that comes with our batteries so that when you plug these in, you don't need to worry about the counterweight at all. It comes with the unit and it matches the same lead acid batteries that you're taking out. So it literally is just a plug and play solution. You drop in the counterweight, you drop in the lithium, and now you don't have to worry about it at all. Plus the charging time, you're talking about, you can charge it for 2 hours and run it for 20 hours.
And the other thing too is, mean, we've been designing these, scissor lifts. We have a boom lift, all sorts of different vehicles and tools. And they've all been designed for lead acid in mind. And so they're like, well, what the hell do we do with these gigantic, super heavy lead acid batteries? When do you think the industries are going to start to realize, hey, we could make lighter, more efficient vehicles and tools that don't need to use the lead acid batteries? We don't need to bother big battery with a giant counterweight. We just use one of their batteries.
It's tough. The OEMs, a lot of OEMs are still stuck to lead acid, and trying to get them off of lead acid is difficult. Their solutions are designed around lead acid. If you look at like golf carts, for example, the chassis themselves are designed to hold the weight of lead acid. So at times we have to actually put counterweights in our products for specific applications just so that they'll run properly. Another big problem that we run into is when you start using, like calibrating the controllers, lithium is an entirely different spectrum for charge and discharge cycles. So not to get too complicated, but you can't just pop any lithium battery in your golf cart. You have to make sure that the BMS, the battery management system on the battery, is calibrated for the golf cart. So we had to program all of our BMSs to make sure that they're going to operate in your golf cart and that the display is going to read correctly. Before that, what would happen is you'd be driving at 25 miles an hour and then the brakes will just lock up on you because the discharge curve is different from lead acid to lithium. So we actually talked to a major golf cart company that was having their customers sign non-disclosures and basically sign like waivers saying if the brakes lock up, it's not our fault. And we quickly helped them solve that problem within 2 days just by re-engineering the software. We build batteries that are open source, open comms, so they work in every application. But some OEMs don't want to give us their programming, obviously, because it's their internal IP. When they do give us the ability to connect with their product, what they find is that we're able to create a safe battery that allows their product to perform a lot better, right? I mean, when you get a brand new golf cart, it goes 18 to 24 miles, and that's ridiculous to me. I mean, we built a golf cart that goes 128 miles in range, and that's using off-the-shelf batteries that we have, just Huskies in parallel. I would love to get to the point where a lot of these OEMs embrace lithium technology and that it's kind of a standard in the OEM applications, but unfortunately, when you look at heavy industrial equipment, when you look at golf carts, when you look at RVs, they're still using lead acid, this 1900s antiquated technology. Like, it's crazy to me to think how much more efficient lithium is, but yet a lot of industries are still lagging behind.
It's so interesting because if you did design a golf cart with lithium ion in mind, then the whole thing can be lighter because it doesn't have to support enough lead acid batteries to give it the piddly 12 to 24 miles of range. It would probably have, let's say it has the same range. Well, now you have a much tinier, lighter battery, which means that the frame can be lighter, which means that the brakes can be lighter, which means that the tires can be lighter, which means that the whole thing's cheaper. And you'd have the exact same advantages. Another question I have is, why don't golf carts come with solar panels built in on the roof?
That is a great question. There's some aftermarket companies that are making these, solar roofs for golf carts. One company that we started working with is Red Hawk, and they're actively pursuing that, getting solar panels with our batteries so that way it's a whole kit. So we've actually gotten to the realm of, we're now doing these PVC panels that are very cheap because you can get a 30% tax deduction just by putting a little solar panel with your battery. You get 30% tax deduction on the battery as well. So there's a lot of incentives out there for every industry, just to provide a more efficient power solution, right? So I think it's coming. Recently, there's Solarola, I think, was going to work with you on a project where it's a pontoon, a solar-powered pontoon.
They are beating our butts right now on that.
We're ahead. Yeah, I think they're going to win.
Sorry to bring it up.
We brought it up with them, and like literally a week later, they are just almost at the finish line.
I know. We're like, oh, is anyone have a pontoon boat? Yeah, we're lagging.
They rock.
They popped 4 of our Raptors on there, 72-volt Raptors. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you guys this, but it's fast. And it's crazy to think that now we can live in a world where, you go down to your boat and you never need to worry about fuel again. You just hop in your boat.
You use it all day.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, that's the worst part.
What was the words of wisdom? The happiest day is when you buy the boat and when you sell it. But now it could be every day that you go down to the marina. It's already charged up because it could have been sitting in the sun with a solar panel on the roof or a whole solar roof of them and just ready to take you on a fool's day adventure.
Yeah. There's so many things like that, which I feel like we are just in the future on that we know is coming. But when we talk to most people about it, they're like, what do you mean electric pontoon boat?
Right.
Like, yeah, it's not hard to do.
Well, and I guess the big one, the one that people care probably the most about and spend the most on is their homes.
Yeah.
And I think that from where Zach and I started about 10 years ago, longer than that, 2013, so that would be 12 years ago, you got your solar installed by Solar City, power purchase agreement, you're still paying Tesla for every electron that you produce.
I should have bought it myself.
The system itself would have cost you $30,000, and that was just the solar panels. Plus, we have power walls. Those are super duper expensive. So, like at the end of the day, a system like that from a company that takes care of it for you, and they don't even hold your hand; they just come and they do it. But it's super duper expensive. And I mean, we were thinking about this the other day. If we were to do the same 9 kilowatt system, first of all, we would have designed it better.
Yes.
Second of all, if we used ethos batteries, we would have saved a ton of money compared to what you would have spent on the Tesla Powerwalls.
Yep.
Have people started to figure this out?
Well, you guys are using an ethos battery, right?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, back in the day, though, we got the Tesla Powerwalls and we were very excited because, the whole power grid would shut down around us and we'd be the only house that had the lights on in the middle of the night. But I mean, have more people started to figure out that they could do an ethos battery for far, far less than like a Tesla Powerwall?
Yeah. They're starting to understand that it's not magic. We're trying to pull away the curtains and show this isn't sorcery. This is how these parts function. And, these kits that we sent one out to you guys. And how long did it take you to install?
Not long.
Not long.
I mean,
in the hours.
It was more work getting them down the stairs into the basement than it was to actually plug them all in, because it's just 2 wires. Like I always thought stuff like this was like you had to have an electrical engineering degree, or you had to be some kind of real whiz, and you'd be looking at all these
like
minuscule
geek,
wires.
No,
this is like seriously like 3rd grade circuits stuff.
This is like when computers went from having to like have a computer science degree to put them together to when it got to be plug and play and it's USB. Like we're at the point now where no one's worried about USB, adding a peripheral. I feel like that's where we've gotten to,
Yeah, I call it my mother's test. I send my units to my mother, and if she can install them, I know that it's good for the average consumer and that nobody's going to have any issues, and she'll call me up and say, hey, this wire should be a different color. And we've actually incorporated solutions from family members first when we're doing beta testing. We have a new product coming out now that is just, it's crazy how far the prices come down. When we started this company 8 years ago, it was $900 a kilowatt hour. This new product that I have coming out, the Nexus, is $210 a kilowatt hour.
And that's with inflation.
Right.
That's with everything that's happened. It's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. So you're in the world of batteries. When we started the channel, like you said, like everything had to come from China. I mean, when Tesla started, they could only get their batteries from Japan and China. Where do you see that today? I feel like there's every week reporting on more and more battery factories going online. It feels like we're catching up to the demand. What do you think?
It's a bipartisan issue. Democrats, Republicans, environmentalists, consumers, we're all pushing in the exact same direction for different reasons. But when that direction that we're pushing in is the direction that we've chose to head in by creating this factory in Texas, it's about making sure that we can get lithium solutions out to everyone that needs them as the most efficient solution in America. And the fact that, Democrats, they tried to buy it back with the IRA. And when that happened, 400 gigafactories broke ground in 2025. It's massive. And I love it. And tariff now, Trump tariffs, that's helping us a lot just because we don't have to, it's pushing the industry into the United States. I spent 6.5 years in China, working with a lot of Fortune 500 companies doing manufacturing in my early 20s. And when I was there, I just witnessed all of the offshoring. It seemed to be like everybody was winning in business, was offshoring their products to China. And I watched as we thought that we could control that by sending our managers over and saying, oh, they're not going to steal our IP. And I watched as, those managers became irrelevant and the workers started their own factories. And I watched as China just we got behind the 8 ball when it comes to manufacturing, especially battery technology. And now I get to witness that coming back to America. And I get to be a part of that. I get to be a part of watching all of these battery factories sprout up here and solving the same problems that were being solved over there. I mean, it's the American dream, right? Like, we want to be able to have our own energy independence. And we're not going to get that by buying batteries from China. And we're not going to get that by relying on these old antiquated technologies. Not to say that there isn't a place for, these older antiquated technologies, but I would like to see a world where we use the most efficient solutions so that everybody can have energy abundance, and so that we can live in a society where you can leave your AC on because you're making your own power and you know the sun's coming up. You can go out and drive your car farther and not worry about the gas bill because it's half the price, right? So living in a world like that involves embracing new technologies. And here in the United States, I mean, politicians sometimes are off on their timelines, and specifically I watched a politician yesterday say, we have the ability to manufacture batteries 100% in the USA. And I kind of gulped and I was like, you're a little bit ahead of the time. It's going to be about, I'd say, Q2 of 2026 when you can do full made in the USA, unless you're Tesla. I mean, they set up their gigafactories a lot sooner than most. The problems that you come across, we have the commodities here for cells, but what we don't have is the ability to refine those commodities and the tooling yet here, but that's all coming. I'm watching all these gigafactories now setting up full automation in Illinois, in Michigan, in Texas, and I'm watching all of the supply chain shift. So for all of those non-believers out there when it comes to, the IRA and whether or not to support that, or the Trump tariffs, no matter what side you're on, just know that battery prices are coming down because of these decisions that the last administration and this administration are making. I love that it's a bipartisan issue. I love that the product that we make, the byproduct of it is good for everyone. You know, it's kind of security for my business model, right? If Democrats are in office or Republicans, it doesn't matter. And if consumers want the best solutions, that's what we're providing. And as we come to newer technologies that we can embrace, we will do so. But today, LFP it's the leader. This common fallacy, you'll read all these articles of people that say, well, there's a newer chemistry and it's going to come out for batteries and it's going to, revolutionize the game. And then I look into it and it's a button cell that's on a lab somewhere, right? Consumers need to realize that it takes 7 years for that to become something that is actually mass produced, right? So newer technologies are coming, but today LFP is the king, and prismatic cells are going to be in mass production in the realm of 105 amp hour to 320 amp hour, depending on the application. Mainly 3C discharge cells all over the United States, it's going to be able to allow us to get off of our lead acid addiction, this older antiquated technology, and move into something that's going to allow you to do cool things. Like, for example, RVs, right? I bought an RV and I get my girlfriend and I go, we're going to go out and explore. We're going to go on this cool adventure. And we drive for like 3 hours and I end up parking my RV next to another RV on both sides.
It's more densely packed than your own home. Yeah, I love how that's camping. You're like, wait a minute, I thought we were getting out into the unknown and this feels like I'm in the middle of a city.
Yeah, we just created another suburb. It's what I like to see is boondocking, where you can just go out into the middle of nowhere, find this place that nobody else is at, and then just turn on all of your power devices. So we put in my Razors and my Mustangs in my RV, and now we can go out for a week. And I don't need to have access to any power supply. I don't need to shore plug in, none of that. And it's a whole different experience. And I guess that's the cool thing about what we do. It's not, our engineers make this box, right? And it's not sexy. It's cool to us, but most people look at it and go, what's it do, right? But then it's really cool to see what people use that box to do, right? And the experiences that they have, it's just basically, it holds more energy. It holds 3 times more energy, and it's able to discharge it at 6 times that of lead acid, and it's able to charge at 5 times faster than lead acid, but it's still just a box, right? When I take that box and I put it in a golf cart and it can go 100 miles in range, that helps ranchers that that were on the, they didn't want to switch over to electric even though it's more efficient. because of the fact that, they were worried about range anxiety, right? And now they don't have that worry. We talk to people that have boats and are now putting solar on their boats and never needing to worry about fixing their boats anymore. All of that maintenance goes away. Now they just go out and get to use their boat and have a great time, And it's like they don't need to worry about being stranded on the middle of the lake because that battery pack that they have would run that boat for 2.5 days, and it's one battery pack, right? So I just love seeing the different use cases, and some of them surprise me. Beginning of the Ukraine war, somebody in America bought our batteries and shipped them over to Ukraine. And then we started getting these letters and photos of people, like it was an operating table, I can send them to you, and they were using our batteries as backup power. And I got this letter from a doctor that said, "Thank you so much for donating your batteries. It saved this man's life." And this battery was not designed for that. It was just, it's a box, right? It's a box, and then what you do with it. I think that was the coolest letter that I've ever gotten at this company. We didn't donate that battery, but it's cool to see that somebody bought them and donated them and used them in that cause to save lives when we originally designed that battery to power homes. Right? Yeah, there's a lot of different cases. Disney recently updated all of their camera systems to catch criminals, and they use solar and our batteries. Netflix upgraded all of their generators and found a 98% savings on the fuel because they would just take these giant generators and they would run them all day long, but yet that power wasn't being used. It was just being wasted. So now the generator only kicks on at the optimal 10,000 RPMs to fill the battery. And then, the battery does the 98% of the workload. It's these solutions that when you first start this company, you don't think of all the applications, but then all of the consumers and all the businesses and how they use the products that we make, it's just fun to watch. It's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I heard stories about in the hurricanes in the Carolinas, people came in and donated solar panels and batteries, and then businesses saw that and went, "Hey, why aren't we doing this when there isn't a hurricane?" It's just, it's the educational piece. And that's, I guess, where I'm just really upset at the media. I feel like this is a huge, awesome story that should be like in every newsroom. They should be like, "This is a great story. How can we push it more?" But instead, it's like, don't talk about it.
Right.
We've seen it happen again and again in Puerto Rico and other places where they've had devastation. Solar and batteries help solve that. And yet I still feel like if you talk to the average American, they're like, "What? How does that work?" And that's the sad piece. I just feel like this needs to be talked about.
It's very much a teach a man to fish
Yes.
kind of solution. It just continues to work to the point where people are like, "Oh, great. Well, we just keep using it." Why would I switch back to, some coal power plant that's, either on my island or somewhere nearby? Oh, I can fish now. I can make my own energy. So what do I need you for? And now that I control my energy entirely, especially once you have the solar and the batteries, then it's like, okay, maybe I'll have the grid for some kind of local emergency where my system is having trouble. But most of the time I'm going to be, like you're saying, I can just leave the air conditioner on because otherwise the solar panel is going to be generating energy and I'm not even doing anything. And people have this idea that like air conditioning is bad. I've talked to people and they're like, air conditioning is so terrible. It's so polluting. I'm like, the air conditioner doesn't pollute unless you pierce the thing and let out all the fluorocarbons or whatever. The well-working air conditioning machine doesn't pollute as long as you're powering it with solar and batteries. It's going to be great. And if you have enough solar and you have enough batteries, you can keep your house at 55 degrees if you really wanted to. And you're not going to be polluting the same way that people think that it's going to happen and that it's been vilified.
Well, to that point, I mean, Elon talks a lot about trying to get us to a point where we put enough solar in the country or the world where we power ourselves that way. What do you think? Is that just pie in the sky, never going to happen, can't happen? Or do you think it could happen?
I think it's definitely going to happen. I mean, the direction that we're headed in, when you look at the economies of scale and when you look at just the fact that the price is dropping as quickly as it is because of mass production, all of those naysayers eventually, the laggards, they have to catch up. They're going to find that these more efficient solutions are cheaper and better for the environment, and there's no reason not to. You almost have to let them have an experience where they realize the benefits of these new technologies, lithium and solar and being able to do peak shaving at your house. You talked about Puerto Rico, for example. We had a distributor in Puerto Rico that bought our product, and the first month he goes, "Yeah, I'm out there marketing and we're starting to move the product and it's moving okay." And then Puerto Rico had a blackout recently. And he called me up and said, "So I'm out of product. He goes, how quickly can you get more here? A lot of consumers don't think about it until it's too late, but that's a benefit of this system, right? It's a byproduct, this whole power redundancy where you never lose power. In fact, with our new inverters and our new battery systems, they flip over in a fraction of a millisecond. Probably the system that you have right now from us, it's so efficient that I've been in my house where we've had a blackout. Some trees fell on some power lines in Woodland Hills. I didn't know that there was a blackout. The only reason why I knew is because my neighbors knocked on my door and said, hey, can we charge our phones? You know? So, but that's not why we put the system on my house. We put the system on my house because I was tired of $600 power bills. I was powering my Tesla. I was powering my pools and hot tubs and all of my toys, right? And I realized, this is ridiculous. Now, at the time, I wanted to do a study. So I actually went to Tesla and said, hey, I want you to put a 9.9 kilowatt solar system on my roof. And they charged me $2.20 a watt. And today you can buy panels wholesale for 25 cents a watt. When I lived in China, the best panels were built in Germany at the time before China started mass production, and panels were $9 a watt. So just to think about in the last 22 years how that's shifted, right? How cheap these technologies are. When you're at 25 cents a watt for solar panels, people ask me, well, how should I pair my solar on my house? And I usually say, well, how much will they let you put on your house, right? It's so efficient. And now the hardest part of any clean energy system was the batteries. They were the most expensive. It was like the barrier of entry. You couldn't afford the battery pack to go with your system. And now, since these battery packs, we've driven down the price to $220 a kilowatt hour. Now it's affordable for everyone. And the ROI is a matter of 2.5 years. That's insane. I mean, to think that you have a system that lasts 16 years on your house and your ROI is 2.5 years. Who wants, and you get redundancy. So you know that when you flip on that light switch, it's always going to turn on.
I'm living proof of someone who wished, he's kicking himself that he did a PPA, a power purchase agreement, that I didn't just buy the system because I didn't really believe it at the time. I'm like, Tesla, you're going to have to pay for it. Well, and I'm like, oh, in a few years, it would have paid for itself.
Although they were right. I mean, I remember at the time, electricity was 16 cents a kilowatt hour?
Oh, it was like 11. And they were like, we're going to lock you in at 12. And I'm like, why would I want to do that? And he's like, because it's going to double.
And it did.
And it did. But so I didn't believe it.
We are paying less. Every electron coming from the solar panels is cheaper than the ones coming from the grid by a large margin. But
I wish I had bought the system because it literally, I think, 3.5 years it would have paid for itself. I think we could
replace it and still pay for itself faster. I mean, it's insane.
Well, that's why we're talking to big battery. And that's what's so nice about Ethos is that you can just add more. Like if you just add another brick when you need it.
Yeah. And I think that we have to destroy the narrative that you have to be an expert in order to do this.
Yes.
I met a guy the other day and he was like, yeah, I'm thinking about putting, I want to do a solar system. I already have, a solar system on my house, but I want to have like a completely off-grid one. And I was like, yeah, it's called Ethos. He looked into it. I think it was like a month later, I got an email from him with a picture and he's got a ground mount solar system in his backyard. And he's like, this was easy. I'm like, yeah, he was not some kind of super duper engineer type. This was not his area of expertise and he's able to install it. And I go like, oh, perfect. So now someone with a workshop or a pole barn, I don't know. There's so many different applications once you want to use some of the land that you have and you go, oh, great. I've got a big yard and I want a pergola. Now it could be a solar pergola and that could power all the cool stuff that I want, all the toys that I have out in my yard.
Yeah.
My lawnmowers, autonomous lawnmowers, my, outdoor electric ranges, whatever you want to do, it can totally be done. And the power abundance is something that we've never had.
Right.
Nobody's ever had power abundance except for people who've sneaked a extension cord into their neighbor's house or something. That's the only power abundance that has ever really existed.
There's a Fortune 1000 company, I can't name the name, but they came to us and said, we want to do solar roofs and we want to do them for giant industrial projects. And I said, well, what's the cost? And they laughed and said, it's cheaper than the metal. It's more affordable for us to make the roof out of solar than to make it out of the metal material, the corrugated material that we were using before. And that's just mind-blowing to me to think like, okay, so now if I go to Disney and I'm in a parking lot and I'm going to walk through, to, the front door of Disney, I'm going to walk under this, solar awning, and it's going to power all of these EVs outside of Disney. And, now it's not going to be, I get the cooling effect. My car is not hot when I get back to it. And by the way, it's charged as a byproduct, and it's cheaper, right?
Zach and I were doing calculations the other day on doing like a little solar side shed off of the house, and we were like, okay, so what if we did it the normal way? You get the plywood. We didn't get past the plywood. The plywood was more expensive per square foot than used solar panels. Yeah. We literally were like, how?
Why do we need
haven't
the
even
plywood?
added the shingles yet. We haven't even added the
ice and water. Yeah,
nothing. And it's like these panels are going to last longer than that roof.
Yep.
I mean, they don't grow moss on them,
right.
So it's going to last way longer, and it's going to be generating electricity. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I think it feels too good to be true to the point where I think even Zach and I haven't even approached that project because we're just like, yeah, we must be not thinking of something. Like they must expand in the sun and they'll crack or something. It's like, no, they won't. They're going to be fine.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
That's why I love your channel, because you educate people. I want them to understand most of the knowledge that they get is from those who are around them, and hopefully somebody around them is like you who's actually done it, right? Actually, plugged it in, turned it on, saw your power bills, and you can say it's real, right? And they believe you. But I keep getting questions to this day of people saying, well, are you sure that I'm going to save money on my power bill? Or, well, are you sure it's better than my lead acid system today? And that's 90% of our calls. There are people that call in and it's, are you sure that this isn't? And we're like, yes, it works in your application. And yes, you're going to save on your power bill. But it's almost like you need to get past these common nomenclatures that aren't accurate anymore. Like we get people that ask, well, isn't lithium dangerous? I get that one a lot, right? Because they remember 10 years ago when lithium phones with small lithium batteries would catch fire, right? Our batteries are fireproof. I make a battery that you can puncture in a live circuit and there's no thermal runaway possible whatsoever. That's our blade cell technology, right? So for all of these different batteries that we make batteries that, can go underwater, batteries that can be dropped from a DC-9 and survive a 3G impact if parachutes don't open, batteries that are supposed to be vibrated so vigorously that we have to test them by using giant paint shaker machines and leaving them on for a month. It's crazy, but out of all these cool batteries that we make, we can take all that technology, and eventually the most profitable and successful thing that we've ever done is take all that technology and make it just plug and play. Make it cheap and plug and play so that people can actually utilize it. Because today, if you believe that only experts could do this, then you're going to pay $2.20 a kilowatt hour for solar. I mean, obviously not you guys, but people that don't watch your channel. So I'm glad that you exist because you're much needed in our industry. Like, we need to get the word out on the truth about what these things can do, this new technology, and the fact that it is safe and that it is not expensive. It's actually the cheapest option.
Well, and people forget that the sun, because it's always been with us, is this giant nuclear reactor in the sky, and we can take advantage of it. And instead, they just they leave that part out of the equation.
I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I've met people and they're like, we can't do solar. And I'm like, okay, do you like steak? And they're like, I love steak. I'm like, do you like the cattle industry? I love cattle. It's great. You get 45,000 head of cattle. And I'm like, what do the cattle eat? Oh, they eat soybeans, they eat corn. Where does the corn come from? Comes out of the dirt. Okay, what else? Well, you need the sun. You need there's the sun. Hey, you are eating a solar-powered steak, my friend. This is not nuclear-powered steak.
Right.
This is not fusion. This is not coal. This was solar-powered. Everything that you like about horses and about farming, that's all solar power. Luckily, humans figured out solar power in the only way that we could. We'll cut down all the trees and we'll plant a whole bunch of things and then we'll eat that stuff and we'll be happy every day. Yep. Oh, that was the first solar revolution when we figured out that that's what we could do. Now we're on to the next one where I go, hey, this energy is way more useful than a steak. I can't feed a steak to a computer and have it think for me.
Yeah.
I can't feed Grok a steak. Or a salad either.
You're totally right. What's the alternative, right? Like coal, is that the alternative?
Or wear a sweater. Like, why is it between these two? Why is it between we just got to drill, baby, drill, or put on a sweater and ride your bike to work? No, I'm driving my damn Cybertruck to work. Damn it, it's not even efficient. Compared to my Model 3, it uses twice as much energy, just like a pickup truck would to any other sedan. But I get it all from the sun. It doesn't matter. You were talking about like having a hot tub and your air conditioner running all the time, and everybody goes, oh, it's so bad. You're so bad. Not really. Not if you've contained it all. Not if you're a Type 1 household.
There you go.
Kardashev Type 1.
That's what we should all strive to be. Type 1 Kardashev households.
I know, right.
Well, I'm an American, right? I consume. And I love consumption, but I want to consume in an environmentally sustainable way, right? So, like, if you come to my house, it's always really cold, right? My girlfriend loves to turn that temperature down. And when I was a kid, my dad would always slap my hand and be like, do you know how much that power costs? You know, and he'd turn it back up. And for me, like I want to live a life where I can consume, but I'm also creating. It's a self-perpetual. I'm creating the power. I'm consuming the power. I want my power bill to be zero, and I want my house to be cold. And I want my hot tub to be hot, and I want my Tesla to go 130 miles an hour on autopilot. I want everything. And why should we have to sacrifice one or the other or think that we need to live a life where, you know, we're going to basically like tone down everything and, like you said, wear a sweater and drive a bike to work? No. Have you seen the weather here in Texas?
Can't wear a sweater or ride a bike. It's interesting, the inputs into this. And you talked about them earlier. It's lithium, which is highly abundant, iron, which is highly abundant, and phosphate, which we, as you say, we throw on plants. It's these elements that can go into something.
But the argument is antiquated because but isn't it child labor to get the cobalt? And it's like you're saying, we don't need the cobalt. We don't need the nickel. We don't need it.
Yeah, the cobalt, when NMC was the prominent technology, I was, preaching everybody that it's going to be LFP, only because of all of the negative impacts of NMC. And you could talk about the warlords in the DR that were profiting from it, right? But personally, we've never done NMC. We stay away from NMC. But the reason why we stay away is different. It was expensive. So consumers wouldn't want to adopt it. It was dangerous because when cobalt burns, you can't put it out. So now, we have, with LFP, we have fireproof, vibration-proof, waterproof batteries that are cheap, abundant, and can be made in America. That's what you need, right? So once you have that, it's like all of the naysayers, they start losing their arguments. It's hard to build an efficient system and then have somebody say, oh no, I want to keep using my antiquated old technology, right? I mean, especially when they see the benefits of it, whether it be your power bill or whether it be how, the range of your car or how fast your boat goes or, all of these different applications that we see them used in. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. I promise you. And the day after that. And the day after that. But I don't promise you that the power company is going to be able to dish out your power that you're currently using today, and that without the sun, your lights are going to turn on in the future as we stack up this grid. I've talked to government agencies that their number one goal is trying to figure out how to strengthen the grid because we have a very old 1950s grid system in the United States that we're trying to figure out how to make more efficient as we plug in all of our EVs. But I also talk to the experts on the other side that are building EVs that allow you to power your homes. And there are certain parts of those, one particular car manufacturer that's building them here in our facility. So I'm telling you, they're coming out. The future is you have a battery pack on your home, about a 10, 13 kilowatt hour battery pack. Then you have your 100 kilowatt hour car and you go to work and your wife uses the battery pack on your home. And when you come home and you plug in, you now have a 113 kilowatt hour battery pack that you can utilize in your home. That's where the industry's headed. What I love is that, the economies of scale and just the fact that the price is dropping so quickly makes it where the naysayers, there's no more arguments, right? Like all of a sudden, solar is cheapest format of energy generation in the world. When you talk to anybody and you say, wait, what power source do you want to use? And they say nuclear. And I said, well, okay, but then you have peaks. So are we going to put nuclear way up here? Let's cost average that out and see where that's going to put society. What's that going to cost? So what really happens is we start burning coal or natural gas. And what we should be doing is solar, batteries, and nuclear. And that's where the world's headed. It's not all solar, but I'm a strong believer that the more efficient solutions that happen to be better for the environment are going to become the solutions that's what everybody's going to use, right? we're gonna get smart. People are gonna start learning what you know and making smart decisions on what they're gonna put on their next house, and they're gonna stop paying that power bill.
Eric, so great to talk to you. If people want to go check out Big Battery, where should they go?
BigBattery.com. We make batteries for everything on wheels, everything on water, everything that connects to a home, but no planes yet.
If they have questions, where can they reach out to you and your team?
Well, when you call on BigBattery.com, when you call the number, if you call technical support, we have certification levels where you're talking to an engineer in the United States that can help you with any system that you want to build.
And
That's so invaluable.
I can attest to that, because when we were hooking up our system,
We had a crazy question and we called your guys and they answered it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's what I'm hoping occurs. It's usually first or second phone call rings, pick up, and you talk to somebody. I love listening in sometimes. The customer service team, we got 18 here in Texas and 5 in LA. But when I listen in, they go, "Hey, where are you located?" And they're used to hearing like Philippines, but they're like, Dallas, Texas.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Eric. We really appreciate it. Keep up the good work, and
We'll let you know how it goes with our project that's going to use a
Absolutely.
big battery in it.
yeah,
I love your guys' channel. We're here to support you. So thank you so much for doing what you do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, guys.